was. But basically it's defined as an individual who studies, observes, and documents plants, animals, and other living things within their natural environment. So Dakota, why don't you come up and you'll have the honor of introducing the featured speaker.
All right, well, thank you so much for that introduction. Yeah, like she said, I'm a captain at Morro Bay whale watching, run a lot of the tours. And Kevin here, come on down, Kevin Winfield, the man, the myth, the legend. He started all this. He started whale watching, doing daily whale watching tours. So Kevin started doing daily whale watching tours in Morro Bay starting in 2001. Tell us a little bit about what you got, how that came about, Kevin.
Well, yeah, we took over well, I was working at Verge's Landing, so I was a sport boat captain there, running with the Princess, and I was actually Rita's deckhand for a little while, so that was kind of cool. Anyway, so I was fish happy most of my life, but I've always liked the whole marine environment and whales and all that. And then when Lloyd had the sub came into town, and I got a job with Lloyd running that, and then we worked out a deal, and I took over the little Subsea tour boat because I like showing all the kids the fish and all the stuff in the bay. So anyway, and then we bought the Dos Osos from Lloyd. He built that himself, and we did the whale watching trip 3 years on the Dos Osos. And in some ways it's a better, but it's quieter and it's more stable, and some of that stuff's pretty magical. So anyway, it turned out it started really small with the whale trips, and then that kind of just grew and grew and grew. And next thing you know, we're doing okay. And then in 2018, we went up and bought the Freedom in Westport, Washington. Brought that down, and now we got the fancy pants boat, and go out there, chase down the whales, and show everybody a good time. So I feel very fortunate to have chosen Morro Bay as the place to raise my children. We moved here in 1990 with my daughter Shauna and little Mario. So they kind of grew up here and went to school at Del Mar, the high school. And yeah, now we live in a house over there by the Vets Hall, so it's pretty cool. So I'm very fortunate, and I like telling the story that I first came into Morro Bay in 1982 on the Fishing Fool out of San Diego. We were fishing tuna. It was a El Nino year, which is that whole thing about fishing in the rack for tuna is just like so much fun. But anyway, we sold the fish at Giovanni's. We stayed the night. I pulled my cruiser bike out, rode around town on the cruiser bike, and I pulled up on Driftwood Street above the Quonset hut, and I rolled up to that fence, and I was just a kid, right? And I'm like, this is like the perfect town. It's like you could live here and you wouldn't even need a car. And then I'm like, well, you wouldn't even need a bike. You could just walk around. And I could have my sailboat could be on the mooring right out front here. I could work on the fishing boats because the draggers were going and the sport boats. And I'm a surfer, so the Rock and South Jetty and Hazard Canyon and all that. And so fast forward a bunch of years. I got married, my wife, and traveled around the van for a long time, and ended up I was working in Homer, Alaska for about 8 years, did sport fishing there, and then I worked on the oil spill as well. But anyway, we had a sailboat, we were sailing to kind of go to the Caribbean, and then she got pregnant. And same story, different guy, right? So then we had to pick a spot, and I was like, I know a spot. And so we were living in San Diego at that time. We rolled up here in the van, and I remember getting off on Morro Bay Boulevard and stopping in front of Froster Freeze with the van, and the kids were in the car, they were sleeping, and there were no cars all the way down to the beach. It was in October. And then we got out, turned the car off, and it was just like, wow, this is really like a sleepy little town. This is cool. So anyway, we found a place to park, and then the next morning we drove around looking for a place to rent, and we drove by, on the corner of Elena and Greenwood. Well, actually it's Elena Street. There was a for rent sign. I called the for rent, the guy, this is Jack Workington. I don't know if anybody knows Jack Workington, but he was a good dude. So he says, oh, I live right down the street. He'll show up. He shows up, and I remember we looked through the place, and he goes, yeah, rent's $9.50 a month, and I was like, wow.
Thank you.
And then this is 1990, right? And then he goes, well, wait, I didn't tell you that there's actually 2 units here. It's a duplex, and I only want to collect the rent from one. So you can rent the other one out for $4.50 or $5, and then you can have the 2-bedroom side for $4.50. And it was like, wow, we need to think about that. My wife's like, she stepped through and like, no, we'll take it. And okay, all right, let's do it, right? So then the next question was, okay, do you have like a contract, first, last, all that? And he goes, no. I don't do that deposit and first and last. Just pay me $900 and move in. So we paid him $900 and a handshake, and we friggin' moved into the house.
That's awesome.
So it was just like, wow.
Welcome in.
Because, yeah, that won't happen anywhere else in the world. But, so then we ended up buying the house next door when it came up for sale, and then we added that, and now we still own it, but we don't live there anymore. But anyway, that's how
That's
our
awesome.
little Morro Bay story happened. Then I started working Verges, and that turned into the sub and the whales just kind of took off. And we love that stuff. And now I work with Dakota every day, and he's like the star quarterback. So he's running the boat most of the time, and I fill in.
Oh,
But
you're
he's the
glue.
best.
You're the glue. You hold everything together.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, I feel very fortunate to work with Dakota and Adam and Brenda, Revashana, who works for us as well, runs the sub, he's great. So, anyway, there you go. So what else?
All right, well, should we talk about some
Yeah,
whales?
let's talk about some whales.
Awesome.
Whales.
There we go.
Do you want sound on this thing? How are we gonna do that?
I don't know. There, that light's out. There we go. All right, so I'll probably have to sit here by the computer to move the slot through the slides. But anyway, so just off our coast, and it's amazing how many people come to us and say, we didn't know there were whales here. I hear that all the time, I swear. There are whales, there's a variety of marine life worth protecting, of course, from things like wind farms. So yeah, just we already kind of did a little introduction here, but just who we are. Morro Bay Whale Watching by Subsea Tours, running whale watching tours for 25 years. We are just really passionate about sharing the local marine environment with people and sharing our cumulative knowledge. We have a great crew. In Kevin, decades of experience. I bring a little bit more of an academic side. I have a master's in ecology from Cal Poly. We also have some people that are former dive instructors, a retired state parks interpreter, environmental consultant. So together we just can answer almost any question and kind of just tell everybody about every aspect of the local environment. It's really great that way. There's our fleet. We have whales here all year round. It's kind of unique to the Central Coast. Most places you go, Alaska, Hawaii, Mexico, it's seasonal, right? But we have 2 different offset seasons. We have gray whales here December until usually about the start of May, and then the humpbacks usually start trickling in March. By April, May, they're here in numbers, and they're here through the summer to the fall until we leave in late November, early December. So just run through those real quick. Gray whales, they feed in the summer in Alaska. They winter down in Baja where they mate in calve. So they're migrating by California both ways, southbound, kind of late fall, early winter, and then northbound from like mid-February till May. They're unique to the West Coast. So they're only found on the West Coast of North America. They're the last members of their taxonomic family, so they're distinct from all other whale species. So California gray whales, and they're the longest migrators, 13,000 miles.
Wow.
And if you don't know what a gray whale looks like, here you go.
amazing.
Those are the ones that show up in Morro Bay.
Yeah. We actually have a video of that coming up. That's off Montana Oro there. Basically now. Their season's kind of, we're in the latter part of their season right now. This is actually one of the ones that came into the bay a couple years ago.
Very cool.
And then this was about a week and a half ago. Mm-hmm.
What pier is that?
That's the South T Pier in Morro Bay. It was, yeah. Every year or two, we get one pops into the harbor. Seems like the last few years.
Well, this one stayed around.
Couple days, yeah. Couple
Was it last year?
couple of years ago, there was one in there for 3 weeks.
So, such a cheese. Again, how would we
He liked it.
about it?
He liked it.
Oh, checking our like Instagram or social media.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, so, yeah, I'm sure you guys have questions about that. So usually when we see them come in the harbor, they're juveniles, not necessarily infants. They'll typically stay with the mother for the first year, sometimes a couple of years if she's not having another calf the following year. But really just about a year is what they do with mom, and then they go off on their own. Usually when we see them come in the harbor, they're 2, maybe 3 years old, so probably their first time doing the migration alone. Maybe they're just not good at migrating yet, they're still figuring it out. Another thing I'm thinking is that maybe they can't fast as long as the larger adults. They have to snap along the way more. So when we see them in the bay, it does look like they're feeding along the edge of the channel. They're feeding on crustaceans and things actually in the sediment on the bottom, so sand crabs and things.
I'm gonna interrupt with a story.
Okay.
I'm launching a kayak, a double kayak in our little kayak launching slip. And the woman that's going with this guy, she's like, oh, I've never been on the ocean before. And, are there sharks? Are there sharks? And I'm like, no, there's no sharks. You know, don't worry about it. And okay, you guys get to go, you know, go over and see the sea lions and then come on back and whatever. Okay, see you later. So I gave it a push back, and as they're gliding backwards out of the slip, that whale came up right in the middle of the slip, like 10 feet from in front of this woman, and she just like freaked the hell out. She screamed. Well, it was. What's that?
I didn't ask if there were
It was right there in front of me, like I couldn't. It was like 5 feet away. It was amazing.
Wow.
Well, I know, especially her though. All right, that's it.
All right.
Well, now she has a story to tell.
And this next video, I'll say this wasn't even in California, but it plays into what amazing animals these are, how intelligent, how emotional they are, how friendly they can be. So down in Baja, when they're in the lagoons where they mate in calve, they have a lot of downtime. They're like on vacation, they're in these lagoons hanging out. They actually come up to the boats to check you out. So, there you go.
Is this in Magdalena Bay?
This
or?
is in San Ignacio.
Oh, so-
No,
I mean
it's
San
no, I'm sorry,
Ignacio.
This is in Scammons Lagoon, Scammons.
Okay.
These are gray whales. And if you ever want to go pet a gray whale, you can go down to Baja in the winter, and this is what you can do.
Wow.
And that's Dakota's end.
Wow.
People ever jump in?
Not that I know of. Do they want to? Yes.
Yeah.
Do they have their babies down there?
That's where they calve, yes, in those lagoons. Sometimes if they have a calf, they'll push it up to the boat to show it off. Like, look at my baby, yeah.
I think they put in.
That's fantastic. Oh. Nice one, Dakota. Yeah.
So anyway, just amazing, amazing animals. That's the takeaway here. And again, they're only found nowadays on the West Coast. They were hunted out on the East Coast. They were hunted out in Europe hundreds of years ago. Only in California. All right, so the other species that we see, the other main species, we have the humpback whales. They're found around the world. The population here feeds along the California coast, so they're not migrating through like the gray whales. They hang out here for at least half the year feeding. When they leave here, they go down a little further south, down to Central America, southern Mexico, Central America, have their calves. Both the gray whales and the humpbacks were heavily hunted, almost to extinction. And the humpbacks tend to be a bit more charismatic in their behavior. So you see breaching, fin slapping. They're like the acrobats of the whale world. And they're usually when you hear the songs, the beautiful whale songs, that's humpbacks as well.
Can you give us a rendition?
I don't think I would do it justice. Oh, sure. Yeah, we'll hear. Let's pause for a question.
Okay. I live in Keeper, just right down, or the scenic overlook.
Mm-hmm.
It's like right near this community.
Yeah.
One morning I came down and the whales were out, maybe, I'll say early mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But this whale put its tail way up in there, and I know they regulate their temperature with their tails. But it slammed that tail down, and I want to tell you, it sounded like a stick of dynamite. It was unbelievable. Can you tell me? I've never been able to figure this out. What's going on?
What the heck was it doing? So there's a couple possibilities, and nobody really knows for sure, but they've definitely seen them do that to stun schools of fish near the surface.
Right.
More often when we see it, it's called tail slapping, or sometimes they'll do more of a full back half of the body, just like flail around. That's a tail lob. They do that pretty regularly. We've seen it just in the last few days a number of times. Another possibility could be long distance communication, because that sound through the water, sound travels better through the water than through air. That can go very far. Same with breaching, they think could be a long distance form of communication. Nobody knows for sure, but those are kind of possibilities. Communication, or possibly if it was right on a school of fish, stunning fish.
Would that be perhaps because it was trying to assist the juvenile youth? Because there's a whole bunch of
Yeah, is it possible? Sure, make it easier for the young one to get some stunned fish. Yeah, I think it's possible, but again, I don't want to say yes or no either way. Yeah, exactly. We're still worrying about the whales. There's a lot of theories. There's all these hypotheses, but nobody knows for sure. I know there's been instances actually in Hawaii, like on the strip in Waikiki, people calling the police saying, we hear gunshots on the water, so from a boat is shooting or something. It's a whale slapping its tail a half mile offshore.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Is there certain times of day that they're more active and easy to find?
Not really. No, they don't care about the time of day. They're in the water. The water temp doesn't change a lot, so there's not like a lot of change day to night. They're using mostly sound to hunt and find schools of fish, so they don't need the light or anything like that. They don't sleep at night, or they don't have a particular time of day they sleep. They take little cat naps, 10, 15 minutes at a time, switch off which half of the brain is awake and which is asleep, so they keep on swimming kind of slowly when they're sleeping. So yeah, they're not on a set schedule the way we are at all. Here's some playful pectoral fin slapping.
Is this down in Baja?
This is off Morro Bay. We took this off Morro Bay. Yeah, the only footage I'm showing you that's not from Morro Bay was that petting them in Baja, but otherwise it's all taken here in Morro Bay.
About how far off the coast?
If we're, these will all kind of vary. If we're lucky, they'll be right outside the harbor entrance sometimes. We've seen them literally just, a stone's throw from the breakwater. Other times we might go 8, 9, 10 miles. Figure average, a couple, 3, 4 on average, but a lot of variation. They don't really care what depth they're in as long as they can still swim, as they're just chasing the fish around. Question?
So if they hunt in a community with salmon,
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine these wind turbines are.
You would imagine
creating
300,000 foot high metal tubes with whirling blades might be putting sound in the water, yeah.
So, has anyone ever figured that one out?
When they first started talking about this proposed wind farm, I started trying to look into it and see if there were any studies on it. There aren't any anywhere close to the scale they're talking about. So there's no comparison. They have a few smaller ones here and there. No, they're not the size either. So you've got to figure there's probably some at least low frequency, which is what they operate on, what travels better through the water is the low frequency stuff, vibrations and things. And then of course the sounding that they do for mapping the seafloor ahead of that sort of stuff is the high intensity horrible stuff that often kills marine mammals.
Sorry, I mean, ask any questions, but when we're talking about this noise and vibration, thousands of miles of big chain.
Yeah.
There's such as chain. I can't imagine that would be a conductor of vibration.
Yeah.
Chains for turbines.
I mean, chains, 1,500 miles.
And the
Yeah.
undersea cables to the shore.
Well,
Yeah, I don't see any way of making something on that scale that's not putting a tremendous amount of noise into the water. And even if it's not, intense noise that's caused in the past, like caused beachings and strandings and stuff, it's enough to annoy them and make it hard for them to find their food, drive them out of the area, impact them, definitely going to impact them in some way or another.
I'm sorry, there's also a study that was done by Morro Bay's turbine.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you're familiar with it. In each one of these turbines, it's going to drop about 150 pounds of bioplastics into water
Mm-hmm.
from leading edge erosion.
Yeah.
Right on top of the critical upwelling. I can't imagine that if you're going to get into, holes somehow.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. Especially it's microplastics. Yeah, absolutely. They're eating bait fish. They're feeding on plankton. It's going to bioaccumulate. Yeah.
I just want to thank you. We've had a lot of bump heads and interactions with Cal Poly students, a lot of them business majors and other science departments and their professors, and they don't seem to get it. And I wish there was some way they could hear you. I mean, we have our booth at the farmer's market. We've done our best to educate, but it always horrifies all of us when we go to these meetings and these kids get up there and they're just like gun-ho, and you can just see they bought this robotic narrative, and I'm like, they need to hear this guy.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I appreciate
thank you for
saying
what
so.
you're being educated, and I hope that they will get to hear you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we're trying. I'm always trying to outreach to probably just get more of them to come whale watching. Honestly.
Oh yeah, good idea.
Yeah. The small reaching there. That's Montana Road in the background, so you kind of get a sense of where we are here. It's the Seven Sisters in the background. Yeah.
Wow.
What else? And then I think this next one is a feeding frenzy, so this shows you more of the feeding activity here. Those are the humpbacks, yeah. So the video finished, I'd be happy to go over that with you. Yeah, I got some orca footage coming up actually. So
There's a rock, yeah.
I just had a great question about how, let me just stop it for a second. I had a great question about how you kind of tell them apart. Trying to stop it on a good thing to see here. But so there's a few ways you tell humpbacks apart from gray whales. The size humpback's a little bit bigger, not a huge difference in size, about 50 feet max for both. Humpback's a little bigger, but humpback's almost black, right? Gray whale's kind of a mottled gray, humpback's almost black. Humpbacks have that little crew-cut dorsal fin you see. Gray whale's no dorsal fin. So you're just going to see a more or less smooth back. So those are kind of the big things: color, presence of a dorsal fin or not. So those are the easiest ways. And then after that, it's like kind of subtle things.
So usually there's a lot of bait where you see them, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of bait in water, and that's why the birds are there, and that's why they're there to eat.
Mhm.
Well, structure attracts bait.
It does.
Well, wind farms will be structure.
You're talking about a potential pro
Right.
for wind farms, yeah?
No, not pro, because what's gonna happen is all these birds will be diving into the bait through wind turbines.
And you'll get hit by blades, yeah.
And there'll be these, the turbines are all connected by draping high voltage cables.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the whales trying to go after bait right where the
It's a
the
nightmare.
draping cables are.
Yeah.
Horrible
And,
nightmare.
they have barnacles on them.
That's what I'll never do.
And my husband's a fisherman. He's always like, those barnacles are gonna cut open those high voltage cables. I mean, he's just saying that's a potential problem.
Yeah, I don't know enough about the cables to speak to that, but that
Yeah.
seems plausible, sure.
It seems plausible to
Yeah.
me, so.
Yeah, and I mean, blades that size will be spinning it on the tip speed will be hundreds of miles an hour, and that'll, birds won't see it, they'll get annihilated, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a
But
different
they'll be
thing.
going after the bait, they won't see the blade.
Yeah, so you're right, it could actually cause feeding frenzies and attract animals to the areas of the turbines, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be structured.
And of course, the navigation through them
Well,
Yeah.
is a
the
problem.
whales often come to the boat.
I mean, like
And they-
boats themselves, like you guys, your boats.
Mhm.
If your motor dies, you
Oh, getting a turbine?
just trying to navigate.
That's
Yeah,
why it's so
just
cool. I
having
don't
more
think they
obstacles
go-
in the ocean navigate
Yeah.
through that
Yeah.
way.
They still go out 20 miles, and they don't quite 20 miles.
Not, yeah, that's kind of our limit would be at the very most, never, yeah.
But they're very aware of what's around them. I mean,
Yeah.
when we're shut down and they come to the boat and swim underneath and around, and they always think they're gonna hit the boat, because I'm paranoid. But they're always like that far.
Yeah.
I should have brought the model, but
Yeah.
like if the boat's here, the whale come up and it looks like, and it's just,
But
Every
the
time.
boat makes noise.
It does. yeah.
Cables don't.
True.
And cables aren't that good.
Yeah.
So it might be they couldn't see them, I don't know.
yeah.
That's actually something we wanted to tell how large these cables are. But anyway, so that's kind of a good segue, talk about the whales coming up close to us and knowing right where the boat is. So, you know, one thing is we, of course, never want to approach them. We want to give them their space, be respectful, but kind of like the gray whales do in Baja occasionally, less often, the humpbacks will do what's called a mugging. They'll come to check us out. They're inquisitive, they're intelligent, they're social. Oh, that's not what I just do. There we go. So we're stopped, they're just coming to check us out. No, we couldn't. we couldn't provide them with enough food to catch their attention. So we couldn't bring enough food to catch a whale's attention. We couldn't feed them.
These humpbacks are great.
These are humpbacks, yeah. Yeah, we're on the humpback segment right now.
What do humpbacks eat?
Anchovies, bait fish.
Anchovies, sardines, squid, whatever. It's very, very versatile.
And sometimes accidentally come up and die.
Well, right, they spit them right out, but,
It looks like there's always birds that come up.
sure, right, the ball of egg, and their technique, clamshell. It's the color. I mean, I've only seen that one, but it's spit right out.
There's a story of a man who got swallowed.
Yeah. It's a local guy.
Who's doing the
I
field?
used to work with him in San Francisco.
Most of these I took. Most of these I took. So it's worth mentioning the section of the whale's brain that's dedicated to emotion and social interaction. It's like 6 or 7 times bigger than people's. They're incredibly emotional animals. They actually have a whole lobe of their brain dedicated to emotion, whereas we definitely just have a little section somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of the name of the lobe. But yeah, they have a special, I have it here. It is the Paralympic lobe. It is the Paralympic lobe dedicated to motion. So we already had some questions about other species. Talked to somebody about blue whales earlier. Somebody asked about orcas. So more rarely we'll see blue whales, fin whales, the second largest, orcas, minke whales. There's 7 different dolphin species, 2 different porpoise species, a variety of jellyfish. We have a really cool big fish called a mola mola out there. We have all kinds of pelagic seabirds, including albatross, puffins, 20 different species of sharks in the area, and very rarely sea turtles, specifically leatherbacks and loggerheads we're in the range for.
I saw lots of puffins in Alaska. I didn't know you could see them around here.
It's rare, but yeah, we have them here.
Oh, wow.
Here's a super pod of common dolphins. We'll get sometimes pods of up to 4,000 or 5,000 that come through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so summer you're going to see the most life. You're going to get the upwelling and the big schools of baitfish. The long days make the plankton bloom. Baitfish feed on that. Everything else feeds on the baitfish. So summer is when you see the most. Yeah, great question.
Orcas, huh? Wow.
My husband was sitting on the edge of his boat and with his foot over his side, and a killer whale came up and almost bit his foot off.
There's Morro Bay in the background, North Morro Bay.
Where was it? Tom Hafer, my husband, he has a cat range, yeah, in Big Sur. There's a whole
Yeah, that was
lot.
within a mile
That's
of the rock.
so amazing.
And then, what's this one? Oh, just more orcas. Sorry, that's the same one.
Chasing a trout.
Just more, another type of dolphin, a Rizzo's dolphin here, just like a mile offshore. It was taken recently, a couple weeks ago. A Rizzo's dolphin. R-I-S-S-O apostrophe S.
What are those?
If you just look at it silhouette, you can call them killer whales.
Is it very round?
Yeah, they have like a bulbous kind of head. Yeah.
But they like squid, they feed on
And then, yeah, just a few of the other things we see out there. Our full ocean ecosystem.
What bird has the red bill?
That's a tufted puffin.
A puffin.
Yeah, it's a puffin. I was taken 4 miles off the like base of Sandy, basically.
Is that just a seagull or is it an albatross?
That's an albatross. That's a blackfoot albatross. Yeah, we get black-footed and lazy albatross mostly. We actually think we saw an albatross today, but we can confirm it. Yeah. We already have a lot of questions, but any other questions?
Wow, that was
Since
amazing.
25 years, when you first started, do you see more or less?
Kevin.
More.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started fishing at Burgess around 1990, and, running trips every day, it was on occasion that we would see the humpback whales. But then, little by little, there have been more and more and more whales. That's my take on it. I did see some study that they've more or less grown 3% per year.
I guess because the whaling was cut back.
Yeah, that's the main thing, is that we don't hunt them anymore, so
Right,
it's
it feels
recovering from that
safe.
hunting decades ago.
And they're very versatile.
Words out.
Elephants, yes.
They're versatile whales. They can eat anchovies, sardines, squid, krill, or anything that schools up. As opposed to a blue whale, they're just eating krill. You get a bad year on krill, it might not play out well for them.
So I went on a trip on Subsea for
Okay, yeah.
Anyways, it was in October and the orcas were there. When is that season for orcas?
We don't really have a season for them. It's a couple times a year we see them. It's kind of random. There's no big season. Yeah.
Nicole has a question.
Oh,
I think
Quick
more
question.
likely in the spring, when the gray whales, the mothers are bringing their calves up the coast.
So like right now, basically, is what he's
Yeah,
saying.
they hang out behind the
All right,
point.
Oh, I'm just wondering how long they live, the whales. What's their
I mean, it depends on
lifespan?
the species, but for both grays and humpbacks, it can be similar to the high end of humans. If they live a good long life, die of natural causes, 80 to 100 years. And for orcas as well. Yeah.
Wow. And the gestation is similar to humans
Gestation is about
also?
a year. Because what they do is they usually migrate to warmer waters to mate and calve. So they mate 1 year, migrate back north to feed. The following year, they have their calf. So it's about 12 months.
But have you guys heard about the right whales where they found some
with some harpoons from the 1800s. They're saying that
those
they're
are
200
longer.
years,
Those are longer lived species. Yeah, they
200
live
years
longer.
old, and we don't know how long more they live. Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, there's a question.
Again,
Lisa.
species dependent.
I have just a quick question,
Sure.
kind of related to offshore wind. First of all, that was fantastic.
Yes.
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 Yes, thank you.